All right, we should. Yep, we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to For the Minions, the weekly show where we talk about Predecessor, Overprime, and Ethereal. And we got a lot to talk about this week with Predecessor's early access coming out. I would say it's been very, very successful for them. So great job, Predecessor. And then we're going to talk about Overprime a little bit. They released just in their Discord. They've been oddly quiet lately, but in their Discord, they showed that they've received a PS4 dev kit, not PS5, PS4, and their plans to develop the game for Xbox. And then for Ethereal, we've got some items to look out. Very pretty item art for Ethereal. I am your host, the Mangoose. Joining me, as always, is my friend and co-host Jelly D's. How you doing, Jelly?
Mangoose, I am fantastic. And I want to quote a comment that you received earlier this week, and I think it's just the most brilliant way to sum you up.
Oh no, this is scary.
Mangoose is a man who is randomly yelling and forgets the names of teams. And I think that that is the best description of Mangoose I have ever heard in my entire life. But I am fantastic, Mangoose, and back with us after taking a 2-week hiatus. Mangoose, what was he getting again last week? I forgot.
Merkin to match his new hair color. Yeah,
that's right. His Merkin is ready to go. He may show it off for us today. But Viking Jedi, welcome back, man.
Thank you. No, I've been gone for 2 weeks. So what's up, chat, dude? I've missed you guys. We got a lot to cover today. I'm going to try to keep the rant spicy, but maybe short. But I didn't get a chance to talk about, some of the Overprime stuff, and obviously Predecessor being officially in early access is super exciting. So I can't wait to get into that with you guys. And then we've got a new guest joining us today. It's Wulfy. Please introduce yourself. Let us know about your stream. Let us know about your content, about you as an individual, how you came into this world of Paragon and the remakes.
Hey guys, it's my name is Mike Wulfy. I stream over on Twitch. I got introduced into the Parazombie stuff from Windu when he was playing Overthrow. I think it was like 2.5, 3 years ago.
Yes.
And that's when I started. I was like, wait, no, there's no way Paragon is coming back. And then I started getting up on the news and stuff. And that's where I started kind of branching into it. And that's how I started noticing about it. I started getting more inclined. And like, there's 3 different studios. I've been following all the drama and all that stuff too. And the show For the Minions helps out too with a lot of that.
Who's your favorite hero?
Favorite Keeping Up with Kardashians.
Yeah, favorite Paragon hero. That tells us more about you than anything else.
Okay, when I played Paragon I played Paragon for about 6 months. It was Chimera. It was the only thing I knew how to do. I also didn't know that jungling was a role. So I would literally, in my head, when you look at 3 lanes and you see 5 people, you put 2 on left, 2 on right, 1 in mid. That just makes sense. So I would be with the off lane and he would be swearing me out. And I'm just like, what? I'm here to help, man. I'm just trying to let me just slap some people with some axes and then we can go home. And it just didn't make any sense.
I love that. That's funny. That's
and
great.
Of course, you were a Chimera player for that too. And he's like trying to figure out what's going on. No. Chimera of all characters. All right.
Honestly, that might be my favorite introduction into Paragon story that we've heard so far.
Right.
It's fucking great, dude.
My personality matches Chimera on the spiritual level.
Dude, honestly, that makes so much sense. Like every once in a while, like everybody's had that solo queue moment where it's like, what the fuck is this guy thinking? Like, what is he doing, bro? And you're that guy, so that's fine.
I own it.
I had Chimera in our game earlier.
Yeah.
Okay. I've grown.
So before we get into the topics tonight, I wanted to highlight, I got a comment from Sean Connolly. You guys have probably seen him in like everybody's stream. He's been supporting these projects hardcore for such a long time. I wanted to highlight this comment because it shows to me the attitude that I think people should have towards these games. It's just what I think you should have. Of course, whatever attitude you have is fine. That's all well and good. But he said in his comment, he said something to the effect of he prefers Overprime's gameplay, but he's still supporting the hell out of Pred, and he bought the legendary pack specifically to support Omega. Like, I think that's awesome. Like, yeah, he prefers the gameplay to Overprime a little bit, but he acknowledges that Pred is still awesome and still a great game, and he's trying to support them as much as he can. I think that's a good lesson we could all take. You don't have to shit on one to support the other. I've been preaching that forever, but I think that comment in particular I think was just awesome. So Anyway, let's get to Pred. Let's talk about Pred this week because they did have their early access. So the thing we'll be talking about for Pred was they had their early access. So we'll talk about our first impressions of that. They also, since the last show, they released their future plans for monetization, and they had a patch to fix bugs and move one of the servers, which was one of their biggest things. And I do want to talk about some of the reviews I've seen, which the reviews for Predecessor are wild. There are some of them that are just fucking insane. But anyway, let's get into Predecessor. So, Wulfy, the guest, what's your first impressions of Predecessor that you've been able to play it?
Oh, okay. Well, I got a nice long list here.
Oh, shit.
So my pros for the game is so far the initial response is that the game feels great and it feels very smooth. I noticed some other like early access games, you noticed like certain characters didn't feel quite as smooth, whereas other ones did. For the heroes that I play, I haven't really come across anything too awkward or too like stuttery. Me personally, I didn't run into any like server issues, so or like crashes too often. The only crashes I actually experienced, which was the ones that they actually patched the following day, which was actually great to see with like a quick response time. But the initial feel is that it feels great and it's fun to play. I'm excited to see what they do with it. I do have a couple grieves with the game, but I mean, overall, it's what I would expect from an early access game, like some broken heroes, some strong items, some crashes, some bugs, like that's expected. So I'm glad it came to early access. I'm excited that we have another Paragon game to play. I got to see what they do with it before I actually give like a big time review over it.
Right. And Viking, you've been doing the show for a while, but you had never actually gotten to play Pred until we did the content creator event for Pred. And they're kind enough to invite you in, which they wanted the opinion of somebody who hadn't played their game yet but had been following all the Paragon projects. So they brought you in for that content creator event. And so you played that, and now you've played the early access. What do you think of Pred?
Well, I mean, first of all, I was extremely honored to be added in to that because they did it like super fast. They were like, to get me in, and that was exactly the welcome that I got. They told me like, hey, we want your honest opinion about things, and that made me so excited for getting into each game because it felt like they wanted my feedback and that for just as some random bearded guy that my opinion matters, which is really, really exciting to hear. So I think that first event was a bit shell shocked, right? Because trying to learn all the stuff some of the guys in there had played already. They already had a pretty good idea of what was going on. So I was kind of flying by the seat of my pants. But some of the things that they have in there for like casual players, the quality of life things, so like the auto buy, the auto shop, like the recommended items, while obviously you will always probably get the most out of the game once you start to dive deeper in and start learning more. It was really, really a huge benefit for me to be able to jump right in with guys who have played already and kind of keep up at least item wise, right? I still had to like look at my spells every so often and be like, okay, wait, what does this do again? What is this? But for the most part, it was really good. The only gripe with that though is that there's almost no map understanding at all. Like the first time I tried to go through the jungle to do something, I got so fucking lost, dude. There's a lot of verticality in the game, which makes it look really beautiful and really immersive in that sense. But it is confusing as fuck, I think, especially if you're a new player, because that jungle is not a normal pathway to get to anything. It's not like what we got accustomed to with Fault, where it was a little bit flatter and easier to kind of see where you're going. And then obviously with Overprime, you got like the lane going down to one zone, and it's a little bit easier to navigate. Predecessor takes a little bit of getting used to, and I still haven't quite gotten. There's been so many fights we've had in the jungle where I'm just like running into walls, trying to flash somewhere, and I get stuck, and then I'm just dead, and it's like, it's very, very frustrating. But so that's just going to take some getting used to. But overall, my impressions, I guess. Oh gosh, man, I'm so mixed. I don't think the game is as fun as Overprime is. I think that it lacks a lot of like the pizzazz, the when you press a button, it's just not nearly as exciting. Howitzer Ultimate is super fucking exciting. That's probably one of the most exciting buttons to press in Predecessor for me. But outside of that, everything else just feels kind of generic. It feels almost old in my opinion. It feels like old Paragon. And while that's not necessarily a bad thing, it's 2023 now, almost. And I want a game that feels more like today, not a game from 5-6 years ago. So I think I kind of struggle with that. The items are kind of boring. The item art is very boring. And I know Jelly Knees has had opinions about that, and I kind of echo those. Sorry, I know I'm going on a long rant here, but I haven't got a chance to talk about any of this stuff.
It's been 2 weeks. You got a lot to get out.
I do, but it's a good game. And so this is what I was telling the guys. I think the backbone of the game is solid, right? Like the actual stuff that they put in, and they spent a lot of time, and it's obvious that they did. That stuff is there, and so I feel like the only way they have to go from here is up, which is exciting. I do think that there is a lot of potential. The devs are awesome. Every single interaction I've had with one of the dev teams has been super positive. They tend to be fairly humble when at least speaking with us as creators. And, and again, seeking that information. I've put in questions in the creator chat and almost always gotten a response of some kind. Even if it's something like, well, we're not quite sure there yet or whatever, something has come back to me. I'm excited to see what they do as far as communicating more with the general public. And really, I want to see them tackle the, again, quality of life for new players. Because right now, I feel like if you're a brand new player, you have no idea what's going on. That's probably the biggest thing that they need to focus on outside of, adding more champions and fixing items and doing all the other stuff that every game has to do at this point. But the onboarding is garbage. It needs to get ramped up, and needs to get ramped up now. And I know they're in early access. Early access doesn't mean shit to me. As a consumer, the word early access has been diluted to all. And I know every dev that we've talked to is like, oh yeah, but we know what early access means. I don't give a fuck what you think early access means. If I can buy your game, it's a game now. It doesn't matter what you call it. It's available. It's a game. Anyone could buy it. It's not like on a closed beta and you only have certain people being able to access it. No. It's public property now. Get your shit together.
For better, for worse, right? Like you said, other companies have ruined what early access or beta means.
Yeah.
And now you are beholden to that standard. Whether it's fair or not is not the question. That's just the reality we live in. Right. And
yeah.
I think
early access used to be like an understanding of hey, it's early access. This is where the game is. We want it to get better, but you understand it's early access. Now it seems more like an excuse, and that's the way they milk it and use it now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I mean, it sucks that it's that way. But when you compare early access equivalencies across the industry, Overprime, for instance, feels like it knows what early access means in the current iteration of early access, and is trying to be more among those lines of, yes, not everything's perfect, but they've got the systems in place, they've got the things set up, they know what they need to do, and they're moving forward. And whereas Predecessor's early access just feels like early access as it meant 5 years ago.
Yeah. And again, I'm not dumb in the sense that I don't understand what early access is supposed to mean, right? But the bar has been raised for what early access means to, I think, what I would consider today's gamers. And I do think, and this is maybe just because I'm getting older or whatever, I'm not to the point where I want a game that just is mechanically intensive. I need something else. I need to have something that's going to grab me more, and that's a very hard thing, I think, to put into words, or because a lot of times it's just a feeling. And so my feelings on Predecessor is that I'm not enjoying the game as much as I want to enjoy the game. Whereas with Overprime, with its mistakes, I'll go into Overprime because you guys obviously got a chance to talk to it, but they have a lot to do with Overprime to make it viable, I think. But it was still fun to play. I enjoyed myself, and it wasn't like I had to trick myself into enjoying it. I wasn't hard looking for things to enjoy about the game. They just naturally came as the course of the game was playing. Whereas with Predecessor, I'm not having a lot of fun. I get quadra kills and I'm just like, okay, cool. It just doesn't, I don't know. Which is weird because normally when you pop off in a game, you're like, fuck yeah, dude, you want to be hyping it up. And it's just I don't know. So there's something missing for me personally, tangibly. And I can't wait for them to have a chance to, because they got a good amount of money. They've got time on their side. I think they've got at least internally a good plan for the future. I mean, at consumer wise, I'm greedy. I want it faster and I want it now. And I want it like, I'm actually very, very surprised. And this will be my last thing that where they are considering where they were not too long ago with the footage that we saw from you guys who've played it before. I was very surprised by how bare bones it is. And it just, there's nothing really other than playing with friends incentivizing me to want to log in and play the game each day. Like, it's just not that exciting for me to be like, I'm playing World of Warcraft right now, to be honest.
I mean, we've talked about it in the past, but 8 months ago was their last test, roughly 8 months ago. Since that last test, very little has changed from what we can see. Maybe behind the curtain, they've changed everything under the sun. But from the player's perspective, in the last 8 months, they've added 3 heroes and a new UI. And
I think they might have spent most of their resources doing reworks too. I've noticed that this one does have a lot more reworks compared to other Paragon remakes, but I don't think it takes 8 months to do like 5 or 6 remakes of characters. I don't. So clearly, there's something with somewhere we just can't see it.
That's exactly it, right. And even Viking, I'm going to quote something you said yesterday, and I'll preface. He even said himself he's being dramatic when he says this, but the message you sent Mangoose and I when I asked if you guys wanted to play was, I just don't like it. I hate laning phase. I hate the team fights. I hate the items. I hate the minions. I hate the animations. I hate the wards, and I'm not a fan of the meta. Nothing is exciting or fun, so I'm good.
Yeah.
Right?
I
and
stand by that.
Dramatic or not, that's a huge red flag. Right? Like that, even like you even said, like it sounds like it's more fun with friends. Even when your friends are saying, hey, you want to hop into game, and you're saying, nah, I'm good, I'm gonna play something else. That's that's a red flag. Right? Whether people agree with you or not. Like just the preface that is a consensus people can have.
I do also want to say, because I did say that and I do stand by it, I think that they do have the chance and opportunity to get better. Those are just the things that currently, for me right now, feel like I'm just not that incentivized to log in. Now, I will say, there you have a lot of stuff that I do like. I like the crest system. I didn't think I would. I think the crest items are actually kind of cool. It took me some getting used to. I think they're pretty neat. Hate wards. The wards are garbage in this game, dude. Vision fucking sucks, dude. And I play a lot of solo lane, and I am just constantly being bullied in solo lane. It sucks, dude. It's always a 2v1 or a 3v1, and it fucking sucks, and I can't do anything about it. I just sit under my turret and hope that and I can fucking farm there, or I try and put one ward that's like this fucking big, and I can block off one entryway, but I have three ways to get into my fucking lane. No, dude. No.
Well, I think.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I was about to rant, bro.
I think with the early access of Pred, I think Predecessor is absolutely fantastic for what it is, and I think what we're seeing right now is a clear delineation between what Predecessor is and what Overprime is. A lot of people will say it's the same game with different assets. No, they are two very different games, and I think both can actually coexist. I think both could exist together, and you can. And there's going to be fans of one and fans of the other, but Omega seems to be creating a Paragon remake for Paragon fans. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with appeasing the Paragon purists, because Paragon was a fun fucking game that a lot of people enjoyed. Obviously, we enjoyed the hell out of it. But then Overprime is making a game for the current gamer to enjoy. Yeah. So I don't think negatively if people prefer one over the other. Like, if you're a Paragon purist, nothing wrong with that. If you've moved on a little bit and you want something a bit more new and exciting and you prefer Overprime, I have no problem with that. Like, I think both games have their place and both games need improvement. And something else I was saying to Jelly today, if you were to combine, so Predecessor, it's like, if I'm doing a Predecessor video, it's like 2/3 of the video is almost useless because nothing happens for the first 2/3 of the game. Then the last third is just balls to the wall. Whereas with Overprime, it's like 3/4 of the game is just balls to the wall fucking crazy, and then the last quarter of the game is just two teams fucking looking at each other waiting for Prime to spawn. So like, if you could combine them both, you would have the perfect game of just full action. But I don't know, I think, like I said, Predecessor it's fantastic for what it is. Like, the game is, like we keep saying, it's extremely smooth, no bugs. Like, I haven't found hardly any bugs whatsoever. I had
very
a Bellica ult that didn't deal damage one time, and like that's about it. And
the only bug that I've encountered is, and it seems to always be on ultimates, where I'll use my ultimate and then 2 seconds later it's off cooldown again, and I can use it a second time.
I've noticed
Are you
that with
using-
items? Items do that too. You can
Yes.
buy an item and then
Astral
you can almost
Catalyst.
buy the third tier, but then it goes back to gray. You can almost buy them. But I think Overprime had a similar bug as well.
I did. Yeah.
So it's and that to me is more. It may not be a bug. It may be server issues that the server's not communicating well, and that's a whole thing we'll probably talk about in a minute here. But that there's definitely weirdness involved in communication with the server just across the board.
Yeah, and then that's another thing that a lot of people have been talking about is abilities not going off well. I think Overprime had the same problem. There's just no ability queuing. So Phase or the Fae, for example, whenever you try to throw all of her shit at once in team fights. You try to throw your Untamed Growth and throw an ultimate on top of that, and then bramble through that, and then toss an E in there for good measure. But a lot of times when I do that, I'm hitting all the buttons and like the ultimate doesn't register. So I just I do all that, and then there's no ultimate to actually set everything up, and I was like, oh god damn it. But I had the same problem with Overprime, so maybe that's just something that both companies need to work on going forward. I think Predecessor, as far as stuff that they do need to work on, I think what they can actually improve the game. I think a lot of it has to do with sound design, and just like I've said that to their designer several times. It just feels kind of lonely on the map, and then you don't get a different sound for crits. So there's nothing exciting about whenever you crit somebody. And then I played carry today. I hate playing carry, but holy shit, you barely know when you hit somebody. Like it's, I mean, it's kind of the same with melees too. Like when you hit somebody, you don't really know that you hit them. Like there's not.
The only feedback you have is watching their health bar go down.
Yeah, you see the numbers pop up. Yeah, but
yeah.
As a certified caveman on the solo lane with Chimera, I don't know that I'm actually killing them. I'm staring at their health bar as I'm slapping the shit out of them.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping it's working. And I'm like, oh, wait, I actually took down a third of his health. And I was like you said, there's no crit notification. I run crit on my Chimera to see if you can crit with the attack speed ability that he has. And it took me like 10 minutes. I'm like, did I crit him? I don't know if I did. But then I look at his health and I'm like, I have to have crit him. He's down to a third health. And I'm full health. So that response is like what you need to help keep you engaged. Like another gripe I have with the game is like it doesn't feel satisfying to kill somebody. Like Viking brought it up with the quadra kill. I kill somebody and I'm just like, all right, so I think I should just go do a camp now, right? Like I don't know if I should like go and help or if I just don't know like how to keep the momentum going because I don't think their momentum started. And that's something they need to work on that.
I'm glad you brought that back up because I forgot that he even said that, but I completely and totally agree. I don't say this to flex. I've been dropping 20 and 30 kill games fairly consistently throughout early access.
He did say that to flex, by the way, guys.
The amount of triple kills and quadra kills that I have been getting, I've never come out of them like super jazzed that I just got a quadra kill. Right? That I'm like, okay, I got a quadra kill, moving on. Like, whatever. And part of that's the announcer is awful. The announcer is almost worse than Paragon the Overprimes, because at least Paragon's the Overprimes was excited, but just delayed 30 seconds.
Yeah, I don't think you can get worse than that delay, man.
That delay is terrible, bro.
I wasn't worried about the delay. I was worried about him not being quiet. He wouldn't be shut up. Like somebody would die, and then that delay would kick in, and then someone else would die. And I'm like, this guy's still saying that I killed somebody.
I think they're bad for two different reasons, but they're both really bad. Like the fact that Fangtooth goes down. Like I can take Fangtooth, and then 30 seconds later, Mangoose would be like, "Oh, did you take Fangtooth?" Yeah, Mangoose. I took a global objective, and you had no idea about it.
It happened.
Like, look at my health bar. How did you not notice? I'm one shot. Where were you?
And that's the crazy thing, right? Is like, how do you like? Fine, kills and stuff. Make those smaller, more minimal. Fine. I don't care too much, but I know some people do. Global objectives need to be known globally, right? If you're going to put an announcement out there, it needs to be a very clear. This was taken by the enemy team, or this was taken by your team, right? It needs to be very clear. And even then, half the time, the notification for Fangtooth going down is like delayed by 10 seconds. That like it'll take until I get vision for the pop-up to come up on my screen and be like, oh, someone took Fangtooth. I'm like, 20 seconds ago, yeah, you're right. Someone took Fangtooth. I wouldn't have come here if I've known that. It's just so weird to me how the announcer doesn't be exciting in any way, shape, or form. Like it's just meh.
On the topic of objectives, how do we feel? I know in Overprime, when somebody got the Prime, I was scared. I was like sucking my thumb in the corner because I was afraid of all the damage that was coming my way. But in this one, when I take Prime, I don't feel like it's like it really does much more than keep my health up and keep my mana up. It doesn't. I don't know if I feel that oomph that Prime has.
And for how hard it is to take on top of that, the difficulty to the power you get out of it means it's not comparable. Comparatively, Fangtooth on the other side of the spectrum, the power you get out of the third, fourth, and fifth Fangtooth for how easy it is to take is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like it's this weird. It's kind of weird how hard it is or how easy it is for both of those objectives, depending. For instance,
And
Fangtooth,
aggro too is really bad.
I had a game. I was 100 health on Kalari. Just came out of a team fight. We killed the entire enemy team, but I was 100 health. I went in and soloed Fangtooth from that 100 health mark. Went in there, took Fangtooth, no problem. Walked into the duo lane, a group of minions almost killed me.
Yeah.
Right? Like the fact that Fangtooth didn't kill me at 100 health, but 6 minions almost did enough damage to me to knock me out. And I had to double jump and go invis to get out of there with my health is wild. Like that to me says that Fangtooth is not nearly as difficult as the benefits you're getting comparatively to Prime, especially.
I think Predecessor's neutral objectives are far more balanced than Overprime's neutral objectives.
I was going to say
That's
something
true.
similar. I don't think that they're as exciting in some aspects, right? Like when you take like mini Prime on OP is super fun, but that also reminds me a little bit of League of Legends, and I like that mechanic. I like the idea of dropping it in lane and using that pressure to take down a turret or an inhib. I think that's a super fun mechanic. But when you take Prime, Big Prime in Overprime, you get that huge across the whole map and it feels dynamic. I don't like it. I don't think that that's the end game way that I want to play. I much prefer actually Predecessors, buff up my minions, buff me up a little bit, but it's also not as exciting given how difficult it is to take the buff, especially early on in the game. And I also think, and this is something that I don't know if chat or if you guys will agree, the comeback mechanics are almost impossible in Predecessor. I feel like once you are down, it's just a slow grind until you're out, because you will lose all map pressure, and because you don't get wards the way that you should, like you do in other games. You can't have multiple wards, or at least I'm not aware of having multiple wards. I think you can just have your one that's already keybound that you get on the early game or when you first come in.
You could buy a Sentry Ward. A D ward.
Can you? Okay, I didn't know that. But that could change things. So that's me being dumb. I don't know. Just like going out to get vision is way riskier because of the way the jungle is set up. Right? There's so many more cutoff points, so you can get caught out so much easier. If you walk into the jungle and go around a corner and didn't know that you're just fucking dead. I don't know. It's just not as good from that perspective, in my opinion. But, and I said this earlier, the opportunity is still there for them to improve on all these things, and so that I'm still excited for the future of Predecessor. And I 100% agree with Mangoose. Now that I've played both games a decent amount of hours, because I didn't think this before. I thought that there was a possibility, but I actually think that there is an ecosystem for both now. I genuinely think that they're far enough apart in the way that you play the games and the way that they have vision of what they're going to do as studios, that you can theoretically have games operating in both, and you might have fun depending on how you prefer to play that day, jumping into one versus another. And their numbers have been pretty good. I was surprised. They've been kind of checking each day. I think they're averaging like 4,500 or something like that concurrent since they went. They've had spikes obviously higher and lower than that, but I think it's averaged since they went into early access around 4,500. That's good. That's
just on Steam. That's not even on Epic Games. Yeah,
exactly. Yep. Yeah, and I was really genuinely happy and surprised by that. I didn't think that they would be putting out that much numbers, and that was to me mean that people are enjoying the game.
The first day, I think they hit either 7,000 or 8,000. I'm not sure. Whereas Fault, their early access was only Steam, and that only hit about 5,000. And I know a lot of people are going to meme and be like, "Oh, well, that's Fault." Fault had almost as much hype around it as Predecessor when it released.
Yeah,
like people don't remember that, but Fault had a lot of hype around it whenever it released. So yeah, I think it's a cool thing that that Predecessor was able to keep people coming in and keep people purchasing the early access for their game. Because I do think they have the strongest base to build from. I think they have a stronger base than Overprime to build from, but Overprime has a stronger game to build from overall because they just have more features and everything. But
I think
My
in the
opinion.
West
That-
they
the
do.
direction
I don't know
is
about
that-
in the East because
Sorry.
Overprime in East is massive. I think as far as their base versus here, whereas the other way around for Predecessor, I think the West dominates. They're probably their player base.
That's
right
not
now.
really what I was talking about. I was talking about just
Oh.
the game as their base game that they can iterate on and improve upon is stronger than Overprime's base game that they can iterate and improve on.
Oh, see, I would say they're
Think
fairly
that they're going to
equal.
improve on it? Do you think that they're going to like? I know that their plan is to bring back all the Paragon people. Do we have any indication that they want to make the game? Because like when you bring back the Paragon game, that's great. That we're getting back what we missed or that was taken from us. But for Fortnite, ugh. But the fact that like, is there any iteration or any indication that they are going to build a game on their own after that, or to expand upon it, or if it's just like a milk cow that they're just capitalizing on?
All the above, probably. Actually, no,
I mean, Overprime has shown more indication of expanding, of actually wanting to do more, right? Overprime in the past has had multiple maps, an ARAM map, and they've talked about different things that they can do in that realm. Whereas Predecessor, other than they've mentioned it, I think in the FAQ, they talked about an ARAM map of like eventually. That's pretty much all we've ever heard from them on it. And so there's a lot more development work to be put in on that aspect than comparatively to Overprime on the expansion side of things.
I think a lot of it depends on us right now as we're talking, as we're bringing up changes that we think need to be made. If they make these changes going forward, if they make the gameplay feel more impactful, if they make it a little more exciting when you get a kill, stuff like that, like those are the improvements I think they'll be making going forward. But it's on us. A lot of people will look at us and just say that we're dogging on Pred or dogging on Overprime. They just think that I work for every single one of these companies to put down the other fucking games at some point. But we say these things so that they can improve and let them know what they need to be improving upon. And oftentimes the things I'm saying are reflections of the community's overall opinion. But yeah, that's how they do it. That's how they improve.
So now I got to go into the thing that is probably my biggest gripe about the game thus far, that I frustrated with every single game, and it has to do with the items, and it's not what chat thinks. It's not the item art that's my biggest gripe, though. That's up there. The items are bloated to hell and back. It's ridiculous the amount of effects these items have. Not even the crests. The crest being having a bunch of stuff, I think, is cool because of what you have to do to level up the crest. Fine, I'll leave the crest out of this synopsis. Malady or Milady, depending on who you are, is one of the most busted items on physical damage characters. You explode minions, so they deal damage, or you explode enemies that you kill, so they deal damage in AoE. You deal, when they are under 40% health, you deal a burst of damage, and then you increase that damage by 10 for every time you activate that effect. And then you also get all of the stats of a tier 3 item on top of that. Getting both of those together, you're not only popping the person themselves, you make them explode on top of it when they die. All you need is one good team fight where the people are grouped up together and you can blow up 3 heroes in one instant with one item. That's ridiculous. And a lot of the items are like that, where they have multiple effects on them that together, you could make these 2 separate items, make me build 2 separate items to get this. But I'm now not being able to build 4 effects in 2 items. Now I can only build 2 effects in 2 items. And it feels like they're insanely powerful in a lot of cases.
Oh, go ahead.
On top of that, components are terrible.
Yeah.
Congratulations. You want to build a physical damage item. You build short sword, and you always build short sword. And congratulations, you build short sword again. Oh, and you know what? One more short sword for good measure. What? And they're all the components are also 350 gold, except for one, I think, for physical damage characters, to be sure. And that just feels terrible. I constantly am going back to base with 250 or 300 gold after I spend all my money. It's like, well, I can buy nothing because all of your components are exactly the same for all the items I'm going to build. And that just doesn't make a lot of sense.
I want to address Milk Duddy's comment and chat about the cards. See, that's what I liked about the card system. Yes, 2 people could have the same card, but you could customize it, your own stats to that card. I love the old Paragon card system, but that's gone forever, I do believe.
Good reason too.
I love that.
Something in chat. Somebody said that apparently a roadmap is coming out next week, so we'll actually have a better indication of where Paragon's going. Which is something I did not know before we started this, but
It's one of those, why are they not telling us that? Why does it have to come from someone in chat?
That's true.
I think somebody said something, and I don't think it was an official announcement. And I guess I'd have to go and double check it, or somebody in chat can let us know. But I think somebody mentioned it in general chat of their Discord, that there was going to be a roadmap next week. I just happened to catch it. I don't even think it was something that they put out, which they should.
Kind of like how we got the Overprime news this week. What the hell is going on that they're not just announcing this shit?
So I talked to Mangoose and Viking about this. So Wulfy, I'm sorry to suddenly bring this up on you.
Out. That's not fair.
But I actually sent them the roadmap that they sent after their last test. And looking at it, the roadmap that they sent after their last test of what the things they were important to work on, we got 2 things being new heroes and a UI overhaul, and mostly UI overhaul, not really complete. Where were the rest of the things? Player onboarding was on that list. Console was on that list, and I realized they've mentioned consoles coming 500 times. Right? Audio, MMR. We got MMR, but it's kind of janky, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know how much we're allowed to talk about what we've learned about MMR, because I don't think they've officially put any information.
Still, the MMR, I've been dropping 20 to 30 kill games the entirety of early access. Eventually, MMR should level me out where I'm not dropping 20 to 30 kill games every game of early access. Right? That I even just from personal experience, the MMR is not either it's not fast enough to place me, or it is not doing a good job placing me. Mm-hmm. One or the other.
I think it's not doing. I've been playing against some familiar faces constantly. Though I did have some games where I was playing against some Fault pros, and when you go to Fault, that game is significantly a little bit harder than Predecessor. So when they come over to Predecessor, I'm just getting piped on my lane all day, and it's mainly because these guys are pros at Fault. What's a Predecessor going to be to them? It's going to be like Call of Duty compared to CS:GO, right? And I was fighting against the same people, so the MMR system is janky. I think it does need to get updated, but it is definitely inputted because I'm still seeing some familiar faces that are at the same level as me. However, I am getting those games where I'm just absolutely handed down on the solo lane because. So they definitely need to fix that.
I agree with MMR needs so much. I know they know that too, right? Like I don't think that they're oblivious to it. I think it's just a very simple MMR currently, just to get people in the games as quickly as possible and all that fun stuff. But I want to go to something that Zygor said, because he said, speaking of clarity, the item UI lacks clarity and the descriptions are terribly vague. I could not agree more. I think that again, talking as a casual player, I'm not a Paragon pro. I never had ambitions. I'm almost 40 years old, dude. I'm just happy to hit buttons on time more times than not. You know what I mean? Like I'm just looking for a good game that feels fun and I can scream at my monitor for. Right now, when I go into the items, I have no idea what the clarity between each one. Like there's no uniformity of colors and font. Even if the item art itself is all over the place, I don't care. But make the font colors mean the same thing. So if this is supposed to be a crit item, make it orange. If it's supposed to be like a lifesteal item, make it fucking, you know what I mean? Make the font purple or something. I don't fucking know. Do something to make it a little bit more clear what one thing means. And also, the vagueness of the items themselves. Like, okay, wait, what does this actually do? One of the guys in our game yesterday was like, "Hey, what are you doing, man? You're sitting in the..." And I was like, "Because I'm fucking reading items, because I'm trying to figure out what I want to buy, because we're getting our butthole stomped by 3 fucking tanks, and we don't have an 80 carry in our game. So I'm trying to figure out how I can try as howitzer to deal with these fuckfaces." And I was looking through items, and eventually I was like, you know what? Auto buy on. I'm just fucking leaving base, and I'm gonna go just try and do something, because I was like, it was frustrating. I couldn't find what I wanted to find quickly enough. And I think that's a problem, because it's just not very easy to type in or to figure out what it is. Also, like for lifesteal items, you have to type either Omni to find the Omni Vamp items, or you have to type Life or Lifesteal to find the Lifesteal items.
Yeah,
you don't have
I got 2 cents on that. It's a Chimera main. Why do we have Omni Vamp and Lifesteal? Call it one thing and call it at the end of the day. Like when I'm playing a Magic class, it's Omni Vamp, but when I'm playing Chimera, it's Lifesteal, and it's like there's no discrepancy or difference between the two. Like which one's better? What's the percentage differences? What do they scale off of? Omni Vamp is probably for magical characters, but does it scale off magical damage or your mana? Or like there's no indication. So I'm just like, it says Vamp, so I should be healing when I attack them. Hopefully.
So another weird thing UI wise is the coloration of damage versus crits. So physical damage to crits is actually flipped. When you're looking at if you're holding control, looking at your scaling, your physical damage scaling is in orange. your crit damage scaling is in deep red.
Mhm.
When you're doing damage, your physical damage is red and your crits are orange.
Mhm.
Why?
So when did you get hired for Predecessor? That's what, because you just explained that. They didn't explain that to me.
Why? Who looked at that and didn't realize your colors are flipped, right? You need to keep a consistent pull of information across that. If I'm going to know the deep red is crit, then I also need to know that when I see the deep red on damage, that means I'm critting, right? Like, I keep it consistent, and it's just completely all over the place. And the UI, I mean, I said this back when the new UI was shown in the Kalari gameplay. I hate it. I really, really don't like the new UI. It doesn't really solve many of the issues they had before. It just looks a little prettier, and that bothers me.
I can't stand that I can't like reorganize in when you hit tab. First of all, tab screen is way too big in my opinion. When you hit tab and it takes over the whole fucking screen in like massive font. Like I know I said I'm almost 40, but I've got good vision, bro. I don't need to be fucking looking at everything at 30 fucking font in my face, okay? But the fact that I'm like in off lane and I look at myself and I want to quickly look because I don't want to sit there and play Where's Fucking Waldo for my opposite laner to see how I'm doing against them in farm or what items they came back from the shop with. It's so frustrating that in 2022, at the end of 2022, going into 2023, with a multi-million-dollar company, that they don't have the UI fixed to where you can organize or it doesn't auto-organize that, hey, I picked off lane, that fuckface picked off lane, we should be on the same fucking plane with each other at least, let alone me being able to move it around in case some fuckface picked off lane, but he actually meant to be carry and they swapped. The fact that they don't even have it to where it's 1-for-1 just based off of the lanes you were assigned going into the game, like the game doesn't fucking know what lane because it gives me arrows, so it's got to know that I'm there. Where's the fuck? And I'm not a coder, I'm not a dev, but you explain that to me because why the fuck do I have to play Where's Waldo every time I hit tab to figure out what my opposite laner is doing?
You're gonna be angry.
That's something people have been complaining about. That
me.
tab menu is something I've been complaining about since their first test. That's something other people have been complaining about since their first test. But I even want to make a further comparison of that tab menu. Both, we talked about it last week with Ethereal. I think it was last week, maybe it was 2 weeks ago with Ethereal, and we've seen it with Overprime. Both of their tab menus also take up the whole screen. However, what you're getting out of that is not only all of the player information, you can still see through to the map, at least a little bit. You can see through to what's going on behind you, and you have the full mini map on your screen. The utility of hitting tab is way higher than what it is in Predecessor. When you hold tab in Predecessor and you get to see 10 people in the most blown up giant version of what's possible there is just wild.
Yeah. Wait, Edgy Serendes or whatever your name is, you guys are talking nonsense? I would explain.
The pictures piss us off. Calm down, okay?
So somebody said, I think it was Ronan said in chat earlier that like looking at the two different discords, he doesn't think if one shuts down that the players will go to the other. I think 100% they will because I saw all the core fans go to Pred when core shut down. Then I saw all the Pred fans go to Fault. Then Fault sucked. And I saw all the Fault fans go back to Pred. And then people are fickle.
Yep. It's just
so desperate for a Paragon game. I don't think that they're going to be like, oh, if I can't play Pred, I can't play anything. There's no way.
I do want to bring up that Mangus mentioned it earlier. Predecessor is being built for Paragon fans.
Yeah.
And that is for better or for worse, right? These are the same. And I made this example. I think it was to you, Mangus. Maybe it was to both Viking and Mangus earlier this week. This is the same community of people that stopped playing Paragon in the first place that allowed it to die. Right? These are the fan base that they're fighting for, which is fine. If that's their choice, I'm not going to slight them for it. But I'm just saying, like, these are the same people that abandoned the previous game and are now nostalgic for it and want it back, right? So there's a little bit of weirdness in there. But at the same time, it limits what we're seeing in terms of their branching out ability, especially when compared to Overprime. And now, just before we started the stream, I sent you guys a tweet from Weekend, the streamer Weekend, who is an ex-Smite pro, a very large Smite creator in general, who's played both Overprime and Predecessor now. Bought Predecessor for early access and refunded the game, stating that his reasoning was it's not fun. Right? And that's his decision, one way or the other. But when you're looking at a Smite player trying to come into this game, one of the bigger competitors Predecessor and Overprime are going to have is going to be Smite for the next little while.
Oh, 100%.
Right? That they're trying to sap players off of Smite. A Smite player, as an ex-Smite pro, coming to your game and saying it's not fun, is a really scary thing to start happening. And if it's built for Paragon fans and Smite people aren't welcome, that's all well and good. But that limits, we've talked in the past about fishing out of a pond versus fishing out of the ocean, right? That limits them down to the pond if they're only vying for the Paragon fans. And that's a scary thing to start seeing already in the game.
But I don't think Almeida is specifically wanting to just make Paragon again. I think Almeida's end state goal is to have an improved game of their own that is reflective of Paragon. So I don't think that, I think what it is right now is as close to Paragon as you're going to get from any of these remakes, but I don't think that's their end state goal by any means. And I think that's evidenced by some of the changes to the kits, like Decker's kit and Howitzer's kit, stuff like that.
I want to say though, like, and I do get Jelly's point about, you know, having a big creator, you know, come in and refund the game. I will say though, I also will, one, he's a Smite player, so already his opinion is a little bit watered down for me because I can't trust anybody who enjoys playing that fucking game.
Oh, some shade.
I think Smite's not a good game personally. But the fact that he played it and had enough time to, and I don't know if he was playing it on EGS or on Steam, but if he's playing on Steam, then he has to return it in under 2 hours. And I just don't think that you're really going to get a very good experience on these types of games, especially MOBAs that take a lot of time to kind of figure out the different items, you know, the different champions, especially if he's not super familiar with all the different champions. You're not going to give the game enough time to really be a game for you. And if you're just sitting there like, well, I know Smite, I'd rather just play Smite, and this game is boring in comparison to Smite, where I play that game all the time, I'm a former pro, their opinion starts to kind of mean less. However, to Jelly's point, if anybody is giving you bad press at this early stage and has a big audience and tried your game and said it's boring, that's a problem. And so I think they need to do something to counteract that. They need to get some people this game with codes and say like, hey, play our game for, you know, a few hours, play our game for like a week, whatever it is, and give it time. Like, you know, like talk about what it's like from, you know, being a new player to, you know what, but again, with no onboarding, it makes it super fucking hard for any of these brand new players to come in, especially whether with big audiences or not, to garner that excitement to play. And then again, for me, I was invested in coming into playing this game, right? Like, you know, not just because of FTM, but just as a fan of the genre as a whole. And I'm not having as much fun, you know, and I know there are some people out there who are enjoying the shit out of Pred, and I'm excited for you that you got a game that speaks to you and you're able to play it every day right now. I think that's fucking cool. Servers are open, play it. But I think it's in a worse state than where Fault left off at. And I think it bothers me when people were shitting all over Fault and saying how bad it was and blah, blah, blah. And now they're like on Pred's dick. And I'm like, bro, you don't have anything that Fault offered you. You don't have anywhere close to the things. Like the skins are boring. You know, Grux to me looks like a fucking claymation figure running around on the map.
Muriel's skin's awful.
It's just not, it's not exciting. It's not fun. Now, again, I'm prefacing all this with that I believe that they are capable of improving, and I'm excited again for that chance, but they are so far behind where I expected them to be. And again, I'm just blown away by how bare bones the game is. And it kind of bothers me. I feel like it was a little bit, especially with them bragging about making a lot of money, bringing in some pretty big names. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and it just, what have you guys been doing, bros? Like, you know, like I know you have the capabilities.
So I do want
Decker
to.
has a laser beam. That's what it is. That's what it is. She's got a laser beam, and that's where the 6 months went. I will say that from what I know, that the predecessor skins, from what I'm told by my community, they're Paragon reskins.
Oh yeah.
They're not Paragon reskins. They're Paragon skins that have been recolored.
Oh, I thought. Okay. Like,
Yeah.
I see that, and I'm just like, you did a stress test like pretty much once a year, so you had more time than anybody to sit down and grind working on your game. And you're giving us content that's, if you want to give us all the old Paragon skins, that's fine. Give it to us on day one. It's very easy to implement, I'd imagine. But you gave us 6, and 6 are, it's like there's not even one skin is from your own, from the ground up. It's a little bit of a spit in the face in my eyes.
And so real quick, I want to just touch on Weekend real quick. Weekend played the game, streamed the game for at least 8 hours. So whether he could refund it officially on Steam or not, but he posted that he wanted to refund it. Whether or not he actually was able to go through that, I don't know.
And I just want to say too that I don't think that's a big deal that we didn't like Pred.
So there's going to be people. I knew Mangus was going to say that, and here we go.
There's going to be people that don't like Pred. Like who gives a shit?
Mangus, Fault proved that if you do not have a good solid impression off the start, you are going to be screwed going into your development in the future.
True, but I think Pred has plenty of good solid support behind it from other streamers. This is one dude. This is one Smite guy.
And I've never heard of him
but
before. That doesn't mean anything.
In this particular case, we're talking about one dude. But if this one big dude is making that opinion, you know that there are plenty more behind it. Oh,
of course. There's plenty of people that have not enjoyed Pred. And again, I'm fine with that.
When you have bad word of mouth spreading, right? If 6 months from now, someone asks Weekend and says, should I pick up Predecessor? Or it just went free to play. Should I try it? And his first impression is bad enough where he says, nah, that game's not fun. Don't play it. That's bad for you. That is uncategorically a bad thing for your game.
Yeah, it's bad. I just don't think it's as bad as you seem to be letting on. Of course, anybody that doesn't like your game is bad, but I don't think one dude is going to sink the entire ship.
I'm not saying he's going to sink the entire ship, but it is a bad indication, right? When you've got high level players, right? Your game should be approachable at a high or low level, right? And right now you're saying you've got high level players that are unhappy because the game's not fun. And you've got low level players that don't know what they're doing because there's no onboarding. So where are you pulling from? Where are you fishing? What pond are you fishing out of? Right now you're fishing out of the pond of Paragon players that remember Paragon, have been following Pred kind of, sort of, and that's it. And they're going to give them positive praise no matter what. That's a bad thing. When you have the people being critical of your game, stop playing it, that's a bad thing.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. I think it's both, to be honest. I think I'm on both sides of it. I think it's anytime you have anybody who has a space and big enough audience to talk bad about your game or tell people that they don't think they should play it, that's never a good thing. I don't think that the game is going to be make or break, right? And I don't think Jelly's implying this, that it's one creator of his size is going to break Predecessor. I think what Jelly's going into is more about the implications of it, like what it could mean, and I do think that there's a lot of reason to complain about the game in its current state and to have, we've been doing it this whole time, strong feelings about it. And if you're not invested, like we are for this show, for example, you might just be like, you know what, it's not for me, I'm fucking out, and you might tell your whole audience why you're out, and they therefore could say, all right, cool, I'm out also. I also do want to address you Smite kids. Listen, dude, I know you guys like Smite, and that's fine. I didn't really like it. I played the shit out of Smite on console and on PC, and it's just not the game for me, okay? You like being Thor or Loki because you're an edgelord and you want to jump around and stuff like that. That's fine, bro. Enjoy your fucking game. I don't care. I do agree, though, somebody did say that they went to Smite because it's on console. That's still a big market that I think it seems like Predecessor's more maybe closer to getting that done. I don't know, just the way they talk about it a lot, it seems like that's something that they've been focusing a lot on. And I do think that would be massive for Predecessor, especially once they're able to do cross-platform. Because initially, if it's just on, one or the other, I think it'll be a boost, but it won't be necessarily as big of a deal. But once they add cross-platform, I think it'll be pretty crazy.
In the interest of
butterfly effects.
Excuse me. Let's move things along here. Sorry. We're spending way too long on this. Let's talk about new patch. They have the new patch to fix some bug fixes. So they did have some crashing at first. They fixed that, and then they moved the Asian servers. Which, looking at the reviews, almost all of the negative the negative reviews that actually made some sort of sense were from either Australians talking about there were no Oceanic servers, or from people on Asian servers that had horrible ping and it was unplayable. So I'm glad that they fixed that. That should shore up some of it. As far as the reviews are concerned, God, I hate Steam reviews so fucking much, because about 90% of the good reviews for the game were actually reviewing Paragon and not Predecessor. They were just talking about how great Paragon was. And it's like, come on, man, that's not going to help anybody looking at this game. And then, like, 90% of the negative reviews you could tell were Overprime fans that wanted to just kind of that played the game with the specific intent of finding stuff bad so that they could put a bad review up. And it's like, come on, like in between the lines, there were a few like of the good reviews that actually lay down a pretty good, solid recommendation for the game. And there were a few of the actually bad reviews that was like it's fun, but these are the things that are wrong with it. This is why I don't think you should pay for it now, but maybe in the future it'll be good. But those were like the very, very small percentage of the reviews. Then there was that one review that Jelly found of some guy saying that Predecessor stole Overprime source code. And I was laughing so fucking hard. I was like, is this guy on fucking crack? What the hell? Like, how uninformed can you be?
So I want to talk about Cyborg Prototype's comment here. Pred is good, but should have been delayed. I completely agree. I think that is probably a really good synopsis of this. Of the game is good, right? Like when it's good, it's good. But they are missing so much, and they're missing so much of those things that make it better. That this early access is just so bare bones, right? When you have competitive frameworks to work out on in terms of Overprime later on, if you're a competitive player that wants to grind out and become the best, Predecessor's not the place for you, right? If you're a new player trying to learn where the game is, Predecessor's not the place for you. If you want to spend money, Predecessor's not the place for you. Like there's a bunch of different types of gamers, and I've done a lot of research onto this with Ethereal in mind specifically, right? But there are different kinds of players, and you have to appeal to each of them, right? There's achievement hunters, there's the competitive, like people that want to be the best in the game, there's people that are there for style, there's people, all of those things. Right now, they don't appeal to pretty much any of those categories in Predecessor because there's nothing to continue going off of in that game comparatively to other games or Overprime coming out next week.
Hey, Koji, thanks for buying Jedi a beer. I'll make sure he gets that $20.
Jesus Christ, bro, guys! I haven't gotten to shit talk in 2 fucking weeks. Okay, I got a lot of pent up, going on here. But again, guys, I'm not a Pred hater, and that's something I want to go back to kind of what Mangus was talking about, because I think one of the things that has really, really pissed me off is these two camps that feel like they have to be the fucking white knights of their community and go into the other community and shit talk in order to feel good about their fucking game. Like, dude, that is such small dick fucking energy. I hate it. I went into the Overprime on release. I went into Overprime and I jumped into general chat and I shut that shit down as quickly as I could. I was like, you guys need to calm the fuck down. Like, you don't like Pred? Fine. Don't fucking play it, dude. Like, it's that easy. Don't put it on your fucking machine. Overprime doesn't need Predecessor to fail for Overprime to be good.
Right, yeah.
Predecessor doesn't need Overprime to fail in order to be good. The games need to focus on themselves, and the communities that are in one camp or another, which I still think is a super weird thing to do. These are fucking, video game companies. They don't know who you are, bro. Okay? You standing and simping over these fucking studios is really fucking weird. I don't understand that. And going on and review bombing, because it was happening to Overprime too. They were doing the same shit. People were going into the games as Pred fans and throwing games or putting in weird names so that way they could talk shit about the game, and it's just fucking cringe, dude.
What all these games do need is constructive criticism, and it's increasingly harder and harder to offer constructive criticism for either game without the fucking horde of cult-like followers of each game coming down on you to act like you're a fucking you're talking shit. I'm not talking shit. I'm talking about how they can improve.
It's fun how that happens.
Oh my gosh, here we go.
Oh no.
Oh shit, blood.
Let's go.
You see every week in FTM's comments, every single week without fail, one of us is getting called like that we're just talking shit. We hate these games. Fuck you guys. You don't know what you're talking about. Every single week. That's ridiculous. There's no reason to be making comments like that when we're giving constructive feedback. And I think we do a really good job of providing that constructive feedback. It's not just, this is shit, fuck you guys, you're shit. It's, this feels terrible. Here's how I think you could fix it. Or here are a couple options to fix it. I think that's super, super important. An analogy I'll make for, like Viking was saying about how the camps existing for both different sides of the game. That'd be like the Call of Duty players deciding that they only like Infinity Ward Call of Duties, but the Treyarch ones are the shitty ones.
There are people like that, dude. I know there are. So fucking weird.
But it's like it's all Call of Duty. Like, you'd need to calm down, right? Like, at the end of the day, you're still playing your Call of Duty game. It's okay. You'll survive the extra year before the Infinity Ward one comes out. Like, goodness gracious, it's just wild.
You know, what's funny to me is that when Paragon was out, I think I was just getting into college. I think it was like 20, like in my early to mid 20s.
I went to college.
Okay, listen. It was a dark time. Thank you. But now here I am, 27, 28. All the people back now, so if you played Paragon back then, and now it's 2022, almost 2023, you're probably my age, 27, 28. You're a grown man. You got kids. You got responsibilities, and your wife hates you. And now you're going to come over here and shit talk on everything on the internet?
What has my wife been talking to you about?
No. But like, you're going to come to the internet and you're going to shit post? Like, what are you should be a grown man by now. There's been a big difference of time here. Grow up, be a little bit more mature. You are right. Both games, if they do separate themselves, which that's the route that they're going, there will be a place for both of them, I believe. But anyway, we have to get to the next topic, don't we?
We do. Let's monetization for Predecessor. God, I don't even know if I want to dig into this can of worms right now.
Predecessor again. It's just what's the name? We're just stuck here.
Yeah, it's true.
Keep it short, I guess. I mean, monetization. It was exciting to hear them talk about it.
Yeah, some really good stuff, some really bad stuff. Depends on how you look at it. Good stuff. They're not going to have loot boxes, at least not paid for loot boxes. So.
They are going to have loot boxes.
Don't say that they are going to have loot boxes if you don't know.
Admitted to it. They are going to have random free chests.
That doesn't. No, they didn't say random free chests.
It is a loot box, but I think it's meant to be as the randomness of like getting something for free that you earn in the game. You can't
call
buy
it what
them.
it is. It is a loot box.
Well, that's fine.
Cannot pay for the loot box, but they will have loot boxes.
Anyway,
and events too. Like Christmas events, Halloween events.
That's fine though.
Again, the free part, not my problem.
Right.
Call it what it is. Don't say we're not going to have loot boxes, and then in your literal next sentence say, but we're going to have random free chests.
I think. Well, okay, so this is again arguing the semantics of early access type stuff. Like, I think it's just a word choice. Like the idea of what a loot box means has become, the predatory gambling scheme that we're all familiar with in loot boxes. So I think that them wanting to call it something that's not loot box I get it especially from a marketing standpoint. Yeah. But at least for me, and again, I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I took it for what it was. It sounded like it was like, hey, this is a way for us to give you something free that's random, and if you get something cool, you're going to be stoked. If you just get something whatever, you don't care because it's free, and I'm okay with that. To me, it's always the parts where you're having to you're locking content behind it that you have to pay for or whatever, and you don't have access to it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, that's when it gets gross. The way that they described most of their monetization was boring but efficient, I suppose. Like, they're just going for mostly that you're just going to support the game by buying stuff outright. I'm very curious because I don't think they actually mentioned it, and I'm curious what you guys think, if whether or not they're going to go the route of having a premium currency that is like weirdly priced. So it's like you pay $10 and you get like 1,300 currency. The amount that it takes to get the skin is 1,500. Like, it's like, so you're always going to.
They're definitely going to have premium currency. We know that they're going to have premium currency because you can get premium currency with your early access package.
Yeah.
But no, okay, just.
No, I mean, like,
they're not going to have paid for loot boxes. They will have random. I don't think they actually said chests, Jelly. They just said random rewards.
Chests, 100%, man.
Okay. Anyway, they're not going to have paid for loot boxes, and we know what that means when they say that. They're not going to have the loot boxes that everybody fucking hates. What they will have that I don't really care for is they're going to be selling epic asset skins at full price alongside their own created skins. And the reasoning behind it, I think, sounds like a lot of fucking copium. They're saying because they don't want to devalue the work of Epic, and that it would be hard for them to sell their skins for a higher price than the Epic skins. And I think that's just dumb.
That tells me they have no faith in the skins that they're going to make.
Ooh, that's a big take too.
No, but truly, you and I play League of Legends, Viking.
We sure do.
We both own many skins for the same hero or the same
Fuck,
champion.
I own way too many fucking skins.
For the same champion, not even just skins in general, right?
True.
I own every Akali skin in the game, every single one. That means that I found value in each of those skins to be worth to buy it. One of those skins did not detract the value from another skin just because I owned one already.
Yeah.
Right. And by saying that you don't want to devalue the skins that you're going to make in the future, you're actually appealing to people that will theoretically spend less money on your game. If I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, right? They're appealing to the people that are going to buy one skin. That I play a ton of Chimera. I want this one skin and I'm never going to buy another skin in the game. Fine. So they want to pick the best skin for Chimera or the most cost-effective skin for them, and they're going to go that route. Now there's players like me who will spend $500 on every skin for Chimera, who you are now snubbing because now I have to spend more for epic assets comparatively to your own proprietary assets, right? Which is actually the more beneficial for your game.
I agree. First of all, I think it's, and they knew it because they even put it in the announcement. They knew that it was going to piss people off. My biggest issue with it is that it just not even like the cost of it in comparison to what you're actually getting. To me, most of the old Paragon skins are boring. They're not new. Obviously, anybody who's been in this community for long enough has already seen the Undertow skin. I thought it was cool when it first came out. I don't want it anymore. I don't give a fuck about Gideon Undertow anymore. Now, I will say, to kind of move this along, because I know we spent a lot of time on Predecessor, the skin concept art that they showed looked interesting. It looked cool.
Yeah, it looked really good.
Excited to see what they end up actually putting in and how it looks on the game, because the premium skins that we got right now as part of this stuff, they're just, to me, they're boring. I just don't care. I don't want recolors, bro. And hopefully it doesn't offend our boy Arma, but this feels very similar to when we had that interview with Arma on Partner Panel, where it's like you're paying for it because you wouldn't get the game, you wouldn't have access to these without us. And I hated that. I hated it. I thought it was arrogant. I thought it was a slap in the face to the community, and it just makes it feel like, to me, and what that's like, you think that we're stupid or something like that. And I'm not going to spend the money on it, right? And I know a lot of people probably won't. I might spend money on their new skins. You know what I mean? So it just feels like they could have done a better job. One of the things I threw in as an idea into the creator was, why don't you put it as a pass then? If you really need the revenue, then make it as like a Paragon pass or something like that, where you have all of the epic skins, you charge everybody like $10 to $20, and over time they progressively unlock all the old Paragon skins or something along those lines. And you put like some of the really cool skins towards the end, you know what I mean? The ones that are like everybody's really going to want to hunt for. Now you have engagement, you're getting a little bit of money, and you have people who are excited to progress through that. Maybe especially newer players will be like, oh, I can buy this pass, similar to the word we all hate, Fortnite, where I can eventually unlock some skins and I have them. It bothers me and it blows my mind that they're just going to be like, no, you're going to pay $20 fucking for a Gideon skin that's been out for 7 years. Fuck off.
The way I tried to explain it, the way I think it devalues the consumer to a point, because it's like if I had a shop, you walked in, I have a brand new lamp that I made and a used lamp that somebody gave me, and somebody walks in, they're like, how much is that brand new lamp? $20. How much is that used lamp that somebody gave you? $20. If I'm selling you a used lamp that I got for free for the same price that I'm selling a new lamp, are you going to feel valued as a consumer? Are you going to feel like I'm doing you a favor? No, you're going to feel like I'm ripping you off because I got that fucking lamp for free and it's used. And now you're having to pay full price for it. Go ahead, Wulfy.
According to my my Mango's DMs, yes, he does DM me manager. We have to talk about Ethereal.
Yeah. We still haven't got into Overprime, brother.
I love that. Wulfy's trying to keep us on schedule here. Like, you know what? Maybe we need Wulfy more often to keep us on schedule.
If we need to, we could do a part 2 of this episode about Predecessor further.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be talking about Predecessor far into the future, but yeah, let's go ahead and move into Overprime. Let me actually change the fucking video this time.
By the way, speaking of the video, I hate that you did the video from us playing yesterday where we went into the throw pit without a jungler and we all just got
did I do that?
Two
video?
Of their players showing up and killing us. I'm still mad about that, dude.
Sorry, bro. I just got to pick them randomly.
No, you're fine.
So with Overprime, the big news coming out of them. Let me address this real quick. Overprime has been uncharacteristically quiet lately.
Yes.
Yes.
They have been very on the ball every week, giving us something to talk about. Nothing this week of all weeks for them to give us something. They didn't give us really much anything this week. As I say that, it'll probably hit just after this episode. But anyway, fucking Overprime, in their Discord, Ranger posted a picture of the PS4 dev kit and also said that they plan to develop for the Xbox. Last week, he did say that he sat down and talked with both Sony and Microsoft, and that he had dinner with Epic and some other stuff. So this is exciting news, because we did see about a year ago that they were developing for the PS5. They were playing Ping Meow, I think, on a PS5 with a controller, and that was fun. That was cool to look at. But now this is showing us that they're also going to, I didn't think they were going to be able to, but they are going to be developing Overprime for PS4 and Xbox, whichever probably the next generation Xbox. I don't fucking keep tabs on Xbox, man.
I think to me that the having dinner with Sony, Microsoft, all those kind of things is a way more final step than it is a first step. Right? That's where you're going in and you're saying, I have a product, put it on your platform. You wouldn't walk into those meetings, right? Especially with how many games are being put on these platforms. They're not taking a meeting like that with every single game going like, yes, you have a game concept for me? Let me know what it is. No, they want to see a product. They want to see it playable. They want to see that you're doing the right moves. They've had a PS5 dev kit for almost a year at this point.
Mm-hmm.
The PS4 and Xbox One or an Xbox dev kits. We saw the images this week. How long they've had them, we may not know. Right. And this is something I was talking about with Windu and Bearded last night, is just because they announced something after something else does not mean in the time frame internally that's when it was decided. That, for instance, the name change to Paragon the Overprime. They changed a lot of the gameplay features, and then they announced the change to Paragon the Overprime. Mm-hmm. Internally, the name change may have been decided or wanted before the gameplay changes were announced, but they couldn't talk about it until everything was in place for it. So they announced the other changes they had first. And I would say I do that with Ethereal all the time. Certain announcements that I'll make are things that have been done more recently than other announcements I want to make, but I need all the pieces to fall in place for those other announcements first. Right? The time frame is not necessarily one-to-one to the announcement dates that we're hearing these things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. You know, they probably like 6 months ago, they're like, you know what? I know how to do it. We're going to knock them off their socks. We're going to change the name Paragon the Overprime, but wait, we're going to wait 3 months. And then we're going to see if that hits harder than what it would right now. So they definitely sit on some of these topics.
Yeah, absolutely. Any good company will. They'll sit on the more important things for bigger dates for themselves, than they'll just throw it out at willy-nilly because they can.
Yeah, and I can confirm I knew about the name change way, way before.
Yeah.
Well, anybody else did.
Targeted.
I think what they do also is they're very proactive. Also, it seems like in paying attention to the community and what they need to announce at the right times. Like the how we all of a sudden, like super last minute, found out about another test, and then we get, during that we find out about Pred's early access, and then very shortly after that we find out about OP's early access. Like, were they really going to go into early access at that point, or is that something that they reacted to? Knowing it's very interesting to see how they do things, but it also does seem like it's with a lot of attention to detail that they know the impact that it's going to have. Them going into radio silence right now, to me, is kind of exciting personally. And while I had a lot to complain about when it comes to Overprime, I felt like this test, while there's some parts of it that were so much fun and I really, really enjoyed. The new character, so fucking cool. Really, really excited to see some new IP in Paragon. The bugs were so bad. The gameplay loop after 20 minutes, terrible. It's just god awful. Skins look so fucking good, bro. Like, so there's so many things about Overprime that it's like I'm scalding hot and excited about, and then I'm freezing fucking cold on. Like the ranked system was like, I'm not sure how I felt about that. Like, now granted, again, a lot of it was bare bones, but I'm very excited for what they're going to do. And I think they're going to radio silence right now to really hone in get all this shit together.
I hope so.
I hope so too, because it's 4 days away.
Yep.
I have no idea what this is going to look like, but
Believe me, I'm
excited to see
counting.
it.
I'm counting. I'm excited to play Overprime. I'm excited to see the differences between the two, and like I know how Sev and Overprime. Usually Sev is like a character who's supposed to be more mid to late game, right? He's very weak in the early game. In Overprime, didn't feel like that. Now that could be an overturned issue, or that might be the route that they want to take Sev. In Pred, he's a little underwhelming from my experience. Maybe I'm just bad at him, but in Fault he was trash. You had to sit there for 15 minutes before you felt like you could do anything. So that's my personal. I'm going to be playing both to see the differences between the two, and I'm going to shit talk both of them. Make no mistake.
I really like Predecessor Sevarog. I'm going to say that right now.
I was going to say, actually, so, not to go back too far on Pred, but I love that they give stacks on all of his abilities. That is such a huge quality. The Q, though, still, the Q damage is too low. It needs to one shot after, in my opinion. No, it does a lot of damage to people, but I think to the minions.
Whoa,
do
not. I'm
to
taking 500
minions?
damage from one siphon from Sevarog.
Yes. We want 900 damage from
to
the
minions. I feel like it's too low, especially early game. And given that that's supposed to be his spam, like a Nasus, to be able to one shot stuff, it's way too inconsistent, especially when you start thinking about some of the ping issues that people are having. Sorry, I know I'm going off, but I think the idea behind this is the Pred's version of Sev is so cool if you're a hardcore Sevarog fan, and I think it's better than Overprime Sev, even though it doesn't look as cool as Overprime Sev.
Yep, I agree. But yeah. So I mean, that's huge news with the dev kits, though. Huge fucking news. That's a huge new pool of people to pull from for these games. We just don't know how long it's going to take before they get there, and that's unfucking fortunate, because that's what everybody wants to know. It's console win, console win, console win, but we don't know. And, hopefully it'll be soon. And I know Bearded's excited. Bearded. I know everybody keeps calling you the Bearded Viking now, but I know Viking's excited for it, for console.
You know me, and I might.
No, you don't get the rant. What are we talking about, Jelly?
Oh fuck.
I
haven't been here for 2 weeks, man.
Exactly.
Jelly got so many rants on like both last FTMs because there was no me interrupting him. He just got to sit there and talk. And the guests that were coming on, God bless them, they were super nice, but they didn't say shit. I was listening to Jelly Knees. He went on like a 20-minute talk with nobody fucking interrupting him. And
now you know what it's like. Now you know what it's like, Jedi, to be on a show with you.
I don't want to be here anymore. Let me out.
Here we go. Tinfoil hat theory. What if they announce console this week? Overprime.
That would be insane.
They're sitting on it, and like Tuesday, they go, guess what? Early access drops Thursday on console too.
No way. I just don't think so. It's so hard to get early access on console.
Please, God, Overprime gods, please bless me.
Okay,
tinfoil hats.
Jedi, you say that, but it's also kind of fucking hard to get the PS4 dev kit now. You're supposed to only be developing for PS5. Like, I don't know what goddamn dick they suck to get that to happen, but
that was a huge. Okay, so as much as I give console players shit, I know as much as anybody else how important it is for Paragon to get onto console. Okay, I get it. I know that there's a lot of players that really, really want to play the game. I don't know why. I think it's way better on PC. You have more control. Whatever, dude. You play the game however you want to play it. The fact that they got PS4 is massive, dude. So fucking huge, because nobody has a fucking PS5, okay? Unless you're Jelly Knees and you went somehow to a Walmart out in the middle of fucking nowhere and got one because they just had it on a back shelf because nobody fucking buys video games out there.
You got it the same way I just said that they got their rights to the dev kit.
Sure, I don't know, but all I'm saying is it's like the fact that they're going to bring it to PS4, and PS4 is, I think, the largest owned console at this point. I think it beat out the 360 or something like that.
Switch.
Oh, is Switch bigger? Okay, so getting it on PS4 is massive. And then mentioning Xbox, I don't know if any of these games ever made it to Xbox, right? Or
Right.
Paragon didn't.
Oh, Paragon did not. Yeah.
Right?
No, yeah,
So
original didn't.
As far
The
as
Xbox market is completely untapped from a Paragon perspective, assuming Xbox players have not moved to PC.
other Overprime news, though, they just redid their ping system to make it a little easier for you to know who pinged, which seems very unexciting after they talked about the dev kits in Discord.
Maybe Mangoose and Viking will actually listen to my pings this time. I won't need to 500 ping a plate. for them to be
Motherfucker.
like, oh, look, we're going to Prime Spirit.
Let me tell you, we get into this conversation every goddamn time. Jelly acts like I don't listen to his pings. Who used Galaxy Grief to literally fucking curve a Richter around a corner and jump in front of a Rampage Rock to save your ass? Who did that?
Did I ping you for that?
You didn't have to ping me because I'm there for you.
Save my ass, please. I'm gonna get a rocket in my face. Please help me.
Wulfy, you said you wanted to have like a crew of guys to play with, dude. If you play with us, like it's almost 90% Jelly Knees just yelling at us to do stuff. Like if Jelly Knees could reach through me and Mangus and play on our mouse and keyboard at the same time as being able to play on his, he would be the happiest fucking person on the planet. We are never in the right place at the right time. We're never communicating the right things at the right time. We sing his butt, and it doesn't matter. That's what we were supposed to fucking do.
I mean, yeah. If I'm carrying you, yeah, you're supposed to sing my butt.
Yeah,
I'm over in the solo lane staring at health bar so that I can last hit to get a soul. That's what I aim down on that health bar. I don't care if you're hitting me. I don't care if there's 3 men coming. They can come after I get the soul. Please fuck off.
Well, Jelly Knees will come in there and take your side buff after failing a gank.
The off-laner perspective, I love it.
While you're at half health and he's at full health, he'll come take your
Guy's
green buff.
trying to start a fight, apparently. Okay.
Let's move on to Ethereal. Let me switch up the video here. There we go. Ethereal.
Oh, ethanol?
Ethereal?
Ethereal? Oh, guys, that's why I asked to be here. It's just so I can get in on Ethereal.
You gotta
That's why I'm here.
You got to say it weird. We don't say it.
Oh, I'm already a leg down. No,
you're fucking it up.
Ethereum.
There you go.
Wait, no, don't bring crypto into it.
Crypto loot boxes when? Tell me.
So Ethereal, you guys, they gave us some new images of some item art, which is for their spears. If you didn't know, with Ethereal, the different types of items, like a sword will have certain stats. Mm-hmm. All swords will have those stats. A spear will have certain stats. All spears will have those stats. Bows are the same way. So that's a really good way for the items to actually indicate to you what it's going to do for you. And it takes a while to ease into. Like Ethereal is a very difficult game to learn, but that's one of the things that are going to help new players when they're searching through the shop. They can quickly find what they want just by looking at the photo of the item. And these are really cool items. Ethereal, Jelly, you guys as artists always just knock it out of the park with everything they do, whether it be item art, background art, the skins, the hero design. It's all fucking cool as hell. And these items are really cool. So, Jelly, what can you tell us about these spears?
Dude, so there is some changes coming with some items, specifically the spears and the axes are going to have some changes coming to them that we'll go into more detail in a few weeks about. But with those changes, we needed more spears. So a lot of them they're kind of flipping roles a little bit in terms of what stats they were offering. For instance, axes before were offering physical penetration, but a spear having physical penetration kind of just makes more sense, right? So switching that stat across, so spears having the physical penetration is one of those changes. And like I said, we'll get into more of what those other changes are in a few weeks. But with those changes, we needed more spears, so we had to get more art for them. We didn't have to buy them from an Epic Assets store. So we're moving forward with these item arts. I mean, Mangus, you complimented the artists, so we have artists. But yeah, absolutely. These spears look incredible. I love all of them. These spear, when they got sent to us internally, all of us kind of got into a group channel and we're like, holy crap, these spears look so good. Like the little details. For instance, I think it's Refined Spear, the tier 2 spear that's in there. It's got a little crystal around the pole section of the spear. If you look, you can actually see the pole of the spear going through the crystal. The little details are in the item art that you can see how it's actually going through the gem that's on the blade or on the spear itself. And it's that kind of stuff that I love seeing from our item art and the artists themselves, is they take every detail into account. That they want to make sure if it's a well-worn blade, they want to make sure and put like a little bit of etching on there, a couple chips, and like really the quality is there when it comes to the item art. And I love every time we get new art, I'm really excited to see it every single time.
I like that both Arma and Skipter are talking about, well, wait, should it add range? Maybe it should. I love it. It's super fun. I do want to say something, and then I want Wulfy to jump in because he's obviously new to Ethereal and getting a chance to ask some questions and talk about it. But I want to talk about the item fidelity because that was something that we gave a hard time about on Predecessor, and I would even argue in Overprime too. Item fidelity is so critical for new players. Being able to quickly see that one thing does something very similar to the other thing is massive, and I love that that's an attention to detail for the Ethereal team, because it should be a bigger thing for all of these dev studios, and it's hilarious that the smallest of the dev studios is the one that's championing this, and they do look amazing.
Yeah, it looks like you're building the item to the description and not just building an item and then coming up with a description.
Yeah. The vast majority of the time, we have the item completely designed, what stats it has, what the effect is going to be, and then it's given to the artists. So then from there, they can go and say like, okay, if this is the idea we're going for, this is kind of how we can make that design look. And I think that's incredible. And in addition, you were talking about item fidelity. It's also the items get more ornate the higher tier they are. Mm-hmm. So the tier ones are just a basic wooden spear, right? You're not expecting a lot from a basic wooden spear.
Spear of Dirge? How do you say that? Dirge?
A dirge, yeah.
Okay, that one's a cool
changes. Okay, there we go.
I think
refined
cool
spear, right? Being a tier 2. It's a little more ornate than a wooden spear, but it's not nearly as ornate as the tier 3s are, with the effects coming off of them and all the cool little bits and bobs that attach to them. Like there's just a lot of cool, the fidelity across even tiers, not just items themselves, is also really consistent.
Are these already up on socials, or will they be?
Yep, they're all already up on socials, YouTube, the whole nine, Reddit.
Nice.
So, Wulfy, what did you think of Ethereal? Because you haven't played it yet, but I guess you've probably seen some videos and stuff on it. What's your overall thoughts on the game?
My overall thoughts is that it's exciting to see a MOBA try something different than others. That's drastically different compared to others. When I saw it, someone said, I think it was on your video, Mango, it's just a 6v6. And I was like, well, immediately I was like, what are we doing? 2, 2, 2? Like I thought back in the old Paragon days.
So we're going to give you Chimera and we're going to give you...
Yes, let's go. I was like, how does that work? And I was afraid that it was going to be like Overwatch and it's just one lane, everyone is a shit fest. But instead, like the double jungle is a unique idea. That's interesting to me. The verticality that some characters can fly and some characters can't. I hope that gets more expanded out and more fleshed out. I think that's some of the coolest things, is to have characters be different in mobility wise. So overall, it looks like it's actually trying to build on its own image instead of just trying to copy it on it's a MOBA. We have items, we have the sometimes cool abilities, and we have skins. It seems like you guys are really branching out to prove your own place and pavement in the MOBA genre.
Yeah, well said.
I will say too many damn towers. God damn. There's 5 towers in one lane. I saw that and I was like, "There's no way. They have to be testing tower damage."
Towers in one lane. Hang on. Whoa.
Okay.
No. There's 2 towers and a spire, so it's the conventional 3-tower lane setup for each.
It wasn't always like that though.
Build.
Yeah, it was like that. The old build. There were 3 towers and then a spire.
I saw that and I was like, I don't have enough attention for 3. Maybe 2. I can't do it. No way.
Yeah, you gotta take a tower every 5 minutes. Let's go. Come on, hurry up.
Yeah, someone tells me 10 minutes and you don't have 4 towers down. Forfeit of 10. I can't do that. But yeah, my initial impression is that it's exciting to see it, and I want to get my hands on. I want to get my tests on it. But
playtest win.
Exactly. That's another good point. I was gonna bring up is like, I don't know about the correct way to get my hands on it. Like, even if I don't know any of the creators or the devs or anybody, as like a viewer, how would I find a path into it? Is there a plan for that, or is it still to be announced?
He doesn't know any of the devs. No.
I think he's saying from the perspective of somebody who doesn't know anything.
As a viewer, yes.
Yeah, it's fine. No, it's fine. You know, I mean, he did come and drop 10 gift subs in my stream the other day, so you know, flattery does get you everywhere. So I mean,
that's how you do it.
Apparently, Bloodhunter's trying to get back into the Discord. So there you go. He said he tried to make out with you or something like that, and I
don't know how my girlfriend will feel about that, but
she might not have a choice, I guess.
We need the money.
We're talking about Bloodhunter here, you know.
She didn't seem to mind you sucking dick to get a PS5. So.
Exactly.
But yeah, I'm super excited to see where the game goes for sure. And what I want to know is, I wasn't Ethereal based on building off of the Paragon assets to start? Wasn't that the intended direction?
No. So we
no?
never wanted to use the Paragon assets. We did use some of them as placeholders just while we were getting our own assets made or finding other options.
Yeah.
But going forward, from that point where they started to use those, we've been slowly phasing them out to the point that we have very few, if any, Paragon assets in the game anymore. I think they've all been changed out at this point.
Yeah, it's a common mistake people make because they started development alongside like Core and Predecessor and stuff. Yeah, that they were like a Paragon project. They never had anything to do with Paragon. Like in fact, I think the original creators didn't play Paragon at all. Like Ethereal has nothing to do with Paragon really. They just used some of the free assets at one point in time, and I think all you guys really used was the chonkers with some of the jungle buffs.
They used more back in the way early days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even most recently. Yeah. The chonkers. I love that you called them chonkers in the Predecessor video. Brilliant.
That's what they are to me now.
But also, guys, in the chat, there is a Patreon for Ethereal if you want to do that. I believe Mangoose has the link in the description below.
And what does Patreon get you for those who are in the not known?
So Patreon
currency that you can't use.
Jesus Christ, Mangoose.
Oh no.
Patreon gives you a cumulative reward system. So you can pledge however you want, $5 a month. And through that, you'll gain access to the game. You'll get access to exclusive skins, currency, things like that. There's a whole post going through all the different rewards you can get for being a backer on Patreon, as well as you get early access to information. So right now we're at least a month ahead on any information that's going out to the community at large. So there's a bunch of posts on there that nobody in the community has seen yet that is exclusive to Patreon, and those slowly roll out and that kind of stuff.
Nice.
Good.
And somebody asked, when are Ethanol gonna add more towers to the lanes?
Right now. I'm going to go in there and just
more
throw 8
towers
per lane.
5 coming back.
Wulfy said he wanted more towers, so I'm going to make sure we get it done.
I need to slap the shit out of some towers.
There's only 1 minion per lane, but per wave, but there's
you are the minion. Make it work. Go.
You said the Patreon gives you access to the game. You mean when the game comes out, or currently they can go in? Oh, okay. Because
cumulative rewards build up so that you get a key on early access release, because early access will be a paid release. We will say that right now.
Can you just buy early access?
You will be able to just buy it outright when it comes out. Yeah. Right now, the only way to access it is just through the Patreon. On release, we do have a just direct purchase path as planned as well.
Good to know.
I think that's going to about wrap it up for this week. It was a spicy one this week, of course, but let's start wrapping it up. Let's state our final thoughts, plug anything that we want to plug. Wulfy, you're our guest. Any final thoughts on everything we discussed tonight, and let everybody know where they can catch you, where they can watch you, and all that.
And why you never want to come back because the
no, absolutely not. My initial final thoughts is I'm glad to be on the show. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks
you guys
for being
reaching
here.
out to someone smaller like me and being able to have me on. I appreciate it. Predecessor does need work, but it, like I said before, it is what I expect from an early access game. There is some slimy stuff in there, but hopefully with bigger, better changes, it can be overlooked.
Slimy. If there's slimy stuff in there, I like that word described as slimy.
And as far as Overprime, I'm waiting. I'm counting the days. I just need to get my hands back on it because, like, even though the items are broken, that I could use an item and heal like a fountain, like I'm standing in a base, and that makes no sense. Or Narbash can heal an entire team throughout a team fight the entire time is insane. But I was still having fun, and I was still enjoying myself, and I was having so much fun that I couldn't really get mad. And yeah, there was some BS, but it was such a small section or second or maybe 5 seconds of refraining on it, and I was like, who cares? I can go back to killing stuff. Ethereal, I'm glad that I now know that there's more of an accessible route to get my hands on. The items and the art look insane. Like I said, I hope that you guys keep that idea of building an item off of the description instead of the tail end way, because I think that's a great way to start. Yep. It'll help give your items uniqueness, so that even when somebody who's new, who doesn't know how to play the game or doesn't know how to play a MOBA, you call out an item, that item stands out enough for you to recognize it and to know it offhand the next time going forward. And yeah, that's about it. That's all I have.
Where can everybody catch you?
Twitch.tv/Mike Wulfy.
Link down in the description below already. Give him a watch, give him a follow. It's free. And if you enjoy him, give him a sub.
Ooh.
And Viking Jedi.
Oh, it's my turn. No, honestly, guys, I've missed you. Thank you again for everybody who sent kind messages, asking about me. I really, really appreciate that. You can follow me on Twitter still, and also here on YouTube, where I do stream the games every once in a while. I do plan to stream it a little bit more, especially Overprime, because I just enjoyed that game more. I'm excited to see what this next version of it looks like. And I think, yeah, that's about it. Man, I'm stoked Wulfy was here, dude. Thank you for being here, bro. You're a very welcome addition, I think. You had some fun stuff to say, and thank you for letting me rant your ears off, because I haven't gotten to do it for 2 weeks. That's it for me, boys.
I know.
Yeah.
Jolanese.
I just want to remind everybody that Mangoose is a man who randomly yells and forgets the name of stuff. And also, I am happy to always be here, guys. It's so much fun. I'm excited that these games are finally coming out and we're going to see them in a more consistent pace and pattern. The iteration is what I'm most excited for these games, right? Where we've talked about when we did beta mails, we talked about where will these games be in 6 months, 2 years, etc. In time frame. And I'm really excited to see where both Overprime and Predecessor are in that amount of time, and even Ethereal on top of that. Right. So I'm really excited for that. But you guys can watch me stream on Twitch and YouTube when I stream to YouTube again. And yeah, I'm 1 subscriber away from 800 subscribers on YouTube. I saw that today.
There you go.
Ooh, nice.
I think that's a good thing, by the way. Sorry to cut you off real quick, Mangoose, but the 3, 6 months, 9 months thing, year from now thing, I have a lot more excitement for both OP and Pred than I initially thought I was going to. I thought for sure that it was like the uphill battle was so high for both of these studios that it was that there might not even be a conversation a year from now. But I actually think that both studios, to their own credit, have a path for that is less steep than I thought, and I'm so excited. As much as I was giving Pred a hard time, I think it's because I think Pred can meet the expectations going forward the way that I had hoped that they would have already had met them. And I think it's just more about the disappointment than that they weren't there yet, and I have to wait for it, versus where OP feels like I'm not necessarily waiting for the features, they just need to be ironed out. So anyway, sorry, that's my last.
That's a good way to put it. But yeah, thanks everybody for coming out tonight. This was a spicy episode. It was a lot of conversation. I know a lot of people's like we put out a lot of different opinions, and somebody said in the chat much earlier that it seems like some of them are biased. Yeah, that's why there's multiples of us, so that we can try and kind of iron that out a little bit. But I do appreciate everybody in the chat that's watching right now, and I appreciate anybody watching the video that gets uploaded later. But for now, this is the For the Minions crew signing off. You guys have a good one.
Remember to like and subscribe, comment on the video.
Mangoose.
Follow Jelly Needs.